What if, in that instant, 80% of the Earth's surface, our sprawling cities, our deep blue oceans, our green, breathing forests will be instantly and silently buried under a sea of desert sand? The world you know is gone. The apocalypse is not fire. The apocalypse is sand. You survive. By some miracle, you are not crushed or suffocated. You push open the door of your now half-buried home and you step out into a new, terrifying, and brutally magnificent world. An endless, silent ocean of golden dunes stretching to a shimmering, distorted horizon under a sky of the most piercing, unforgiving blue you have ever seen. There are no roads, no trees, no water, only you, the relentless sun, and the whispering wind. You have just become a citizen of the Sahara planet. The sun is no longer a life-giving friend. It is a malevolent eye in the sky, a thermonuclear weapon detonating 93 million miles away. The heat is a physical presence, a crushing weight that sucks the moisture from your lungs with every breath. Your entire existence, your entire survival strategy becomes a desperate, single-minded war against this singular foe. You search for water, a memory of a world that no longer exists. You seek shade behind the newly formed dunes, measuring your life not in hours but in ounces of sweat and the increasing dryness of your own tongue. Every decision is filtered through one question: how do I beat the heat? You tell yourself with the desperate logic of a survivor, if I can just make it through the day, if I can just endure this furnace until the sun sets, I can make it. It is a death sentence signed by your own instincts. Because the single greatest, most widespread, and deadliest misconception about the desert is that the heat is what kills you. It's not. The real killer, the silent, insidious assassin of the Sahara, is not the blazing furnace of the day. It is the sudden, shocking, and absolute cold of the night. You survived the ordeal of being baked alive, only to realize too late that you are now trapped in a planetary scale freezer. The temperature can plummet by over 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius in a matter of hours, plunging well below freezing. This is a mind-blowing, counterintuitive fact for most people. We are so conditioned by movies and stories to fear the desert sun. So be honest right now in the comments, what did you think was the #1 killer in the desert? Heatstroke, dehydration, A, scorpion. Let's see how many of us were programmed with the same dangerous misconception. So the ultimate survival paradox is this: why? Why does a place that feels like an oven during the day transform into a walk-in freezer at night? Why does the very thing you prayed for, the beautiful star-filled desert sunset, become your greatest threat? What is the hidden atmospheric switch that flips from bake to freeze with such terrifying speed? This isn't just about a hypothetical apocalypse on a desert planet. The lessons we learn here apply to any extreme survival situation. And it all begins with understanding one core principle of why Zone 30, your first most obvious instinct, is often the most dangerous one. To understand the deadly paradox of the desert, we must first deconstruct the primary weapon, the one we all think we know, the heat. But why is the Sahara so relentlessly, brutally hot? The answer is not just the sun is strong, it's a combination of 3 powerful factors that work together to create a perfect planetary scale furnace. Factor 1, the geographic sweet spot. Look at a map of the Earth. You'll see the Sahara Desert located in a band around the planet known as the subtropics. This is the geographic sweet spot for desert formation. At the equator, the intense solar radiation heats the moist air, causing it to rise. As it rises, it cools and releases its moisture as heavy rain. This is why you have rainforests at the equator. But what happens to that now dry air? It gets pushed away from the equator, poleward. High up in the atmosphere, it cools down even more and begins to sink back down to Earth right over the subtropics. And here's the key: sinking air is dry and gets compressed. As it descends, the atmospheric pressure increases, compressing the air and heating it up just like a bicycle pump gets hot when you use it. So the Sahara is trapped under a permanent high-pressure system of hot, dry, sinking air. It's a region where rain is actively suppressed by the planet's own atmospheric circulation. It is by its very design a place that is not meant to have clouds or rain. Factor 2, the Albedo Effect, the sandy mirror. The second factor is the ground itself. A lush green forest absorbs a huge amount of solar energy. A dark blue ocean absorbs even more, but a vast sea of light-colored sand acts like a giant dusty mirror. This is called the albedo effect. A significant portion of the sun's radiation isn't absorbed by the ground. It's reflected right back up, heating the air just above the surface. This is why the air temperature a few feet above the sand can be significantly hotter than the sand itself. You are not just being baked from above by the sun, you are being roasted from below by the reflected heat. You are trapped in a convection oven. This is why the famous desert shimmer, or heat haze, happens. You're literally seeing the light being bent and distorted as it passes through these superheated layers of air just above the ground. Have you ever seen this effect on a hot summer road? It's the exact same principle. But the third factor is the most important of all. It is the key that unlocks the entire paradox of the desert's deadly temperature swing. Factor 3, the missing blanket, the role of humidity. The most important greenhouse gas in our atmosphere is not carbon dioxide, it is water vapor. Humidity. In a humid place like a rainforest or a coastal city, the water vapor in the air acts like an invisible insulating blanket. During the day, this blanket helps to scatter and block some of the sun's intense radiation, keeping the temperatures from getting too extreme. At night, it does the opposite. It traps the heat that is radiating from the ground, preventing it from escaping into space, which keeps the night mild and warm. This blanket is a massive temperature regulator. The Sahara has no blanket. The air is incredibly dry with almost zero humidity, so during the day the sun's radiation beats down with an unfiltered, brutal intensity. There is nothing to stop it. The ground and the air heat up at an alarming rate. This lack of a blanket is what makes the day so hot, but it is also the very same reason that the night becomes a killer. It is the key to the desert's deadly secret. In our next chapter, we will witness the Great Plunge and explain why the sunset in the desert is not a sign of relief, but the trigger for the second, colder, and more insidious attack. The sun begins to set. For the survivor lost in the desert, this moment feels like a prayer being answered. The brutal, oppressive heat finally begins to recede. A cool breeze whispers across the dunes. It feels like salvation. It feels like the battle is won. So why? Why does the desert get so incredibly dangerously cold at night? The answer, once again, is the missing blanket. Remember that invisible, insulating blanket of water vapor we talked about. During the day, it acted as a sunshade. At night, its true life-saving purpose is revealed. It traps heat. During the day, the ground absorbs a massive amount of solar energy. As the sun sets, the ground begins to release that stored heat back into the atmosphere in the form of infrared radiation. On humid Earth, that heat radiates upwards, hits the water vapor blanket, and is reflected back down towards the surface. The blanket acts like a greenhouse, trapping the day's warmth and keeping the night mild. Now look at dry Earth, the Sahara. There is no blanket, there is nothing to stop the heat from escaping. The moment the sun disappears, the ground begins to radiate all of its stored heat directly into the blackness of space. It is a massive, catastrophic heat loss. The effect is like opening the door of a giant refrigerator. The temperature doesn't just cool down, it plummets. A temperature drop of 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 Celsius from the day's high to the night's low is not uncommon. A 120-degree furnace can easily become a 50-degree icebox, and in winter months, temperatures can drop well below freezing. So the cold itself is a major threat. If you're sweating from the day's heat, that moisture will now freeze on your skin, accelerating heat loss. Without proper shelter and clothing hypothermia, a dangerous drop in body temperature is a very real and very deadly possibility. Many who survive the day are killed by the night. But the cold has another, more insidious weapon. It continues the work that the heat started. It continues to dehydrate you. The dehydration machine. Part 2. You think you're safe from losing water because you're not sweating anymore. Wrong. The desert air at night is not just cold, it is incredibly dry. Every time you exhale, your body warms and moistens the air from your lungs. In a humid environment, the air you breathe in already has moisture, so the net loss is small. But in the desert, you are breathing in bone-dry air and breathing out precious, life-saving water vapor with every single breath. You are literally breathing your water supply away into the night sky. But we have not yet discussed the desert's third and perhaps most cruel weapon. One that doesn't attack your body, but your mind. A weapon that offers you a beautiful false hope and lures you to your death. In our next chapter, we will confront the ghost of the desert, the Mirage. You have survived the furnace of the day. You have endured the freezer of the night. Your body is battered, your water is low. but your will to survive is still burning. You push onward, scanning the endless shimmering horizon, searching for a single solitary sign of hope. And then you see it. In the distance, shimmering under the brutal sun, is a beautiful, impossible sight, a sparkling blue lake. You can almost see the ripples on its surface, the cool, life-giving water reflecting the sky. It is everything you have been praying for, salvation. And so you abandon the plan. You leave the path. You begin a new, desperate journey towards the shimmering blue promise on the horizon. You have just fallen for the desert's most cruel and elegant trap. You are chasing a ghost. You are chasing a mirage. So why? Why do our eyes, the very tools we trust to tell us the truth about the world, lie to us so convincingly in the desert? A mirage is not a hallucination. It is not a product of a failing mind, although a dehydrated mind is more likely to believe it. A mirage is a real physical phenomenon. It is an optical illusion created by the physics of light and heat. It is a trick that the desert has perfected over millions of years. Remember the albedo effect. The sand gets incredibly hot, which in turn superheats the layer of air directly above it. This means you now have two distinct layers of air, a super hot, less dense layer near the ground, and a cooler, denser layer above it. Now let's bring in the light. Light from the sky or from a distant object like a mountain travels down towards you. When this ray of light hits the boundary between the cool, dense air and the hot, less dense air, it doesn't just pass straight through, it bends, it refracts. Specifically, it bends upwards away from the hot ground. Your brain is not programmed to understand that light can bend. It assumes that light always travels in a straight line. So when that bent ray of light from the sky enters your eye, your brain traces it back in a straight line. And where does that straight line lead? It leads to a point on the ground in front of you. Your brain is now receiving a signal of blue sky, but it thinks that signal is coming from the ground. And what is the only thing in nature that reflects a perfect shimmering blue image of the sky from the groundwater? You are not seeing a lake. You are seeing a piece of the blue sky displaced and projected onto the desert floor by a giant invisible heat lens. The shimmering is just the turbulence of the hot air rising, distorting the image, making it look exactly like ripples on water. It is a perfect physically generated illusion. But in the desperate context of desert survival, this optical illusion becomes a psychological killer. It preys on your deepest desire. It gives you a tangible, visible goal, and it convinces you to abandon your rational plan in favor of a desperate emotional gamble. You might spend hours wasting your last reserves of energy and water chasing a ghost that your own eyes created. Every time you think you're getting closer, the lake seems to move further away, always just out of reach. It is a weapon that turns your own hope into a tool of self-destruction. But like any machine, it has rules, it has weaknesses, and by understanding its system, we can create a counter-strategy, a blueprint for survival. And in our final part, we will reveal the counterintuitive rules that can allow you to defeat all three of the desert's killers. Dehydration in the desert is not just feeling thirsty, it is a step-by-step deconstruction of your biological systems. Let's walk through the horrifying stages of this process. It is a journey from which there is often no return. Stage 1, the early warning 1 to 2% body weight lost. It begins subtly. A dry mouth, a nagging thirst. Your body, the incredible machine that it is, has detected a water shortage. It triggers its first defense mechanism. It sends a powerful signal to your brain, drink now, and it begins to conserve water by reducing urine output. At this stage, you are still functioning. You feel uncomfortable, but your mind is clear. This is not a suggestion. It is a blaring alarm bell. Stage 2, the onset of failure, 3 to 5% body weight lost. Now things get serious. Your blood volume begins to decrease. Your blood thickens like engine oil in the cold. Your heart has to work much, much harder to pump this thicker fluid through your veins. Your heart rate increases. Your body temperature begins to rise because you are no longer sweating efficiently. Your physical performance plummets. You become weak, dizzy, and nauseous. Your judgment begins to cloud. This is the point where making a simple navigational mistake becomes easy. Most of us have probably experienced a mild version of this stage. Have you ever been so dehydrated during a workout or on a hot day that you felt dizzy or sick? That feeling is your body entering the first stage of systemic failure. Stage 3, the mental breakdown, 6 to 9% body weight lost. This is where the mind begins to break. The lack of water and overheating of the brain leads to severe cognitive impairment. You become confused, disoriented. Your vision may become blurry. Headaches become severe. And this is where the true horror begins. Hallucinations. Stage 4, the final shutdown, 10% or more. Body weight lost. This is the end game. Your internal organs begin to fail. Your kidneys unable to filter the thick toxic blood shut down. Your skin becomes shriveled and loses all elasticity. You lose the ability to walk. Your brain swells. Seizures may occur. You slip into a coma, and then cardiac arrest. Your heart, exhausted from trying to pump sludge, finally gives up. So the threat is absolute, but it is not unbeatable. It is a machine, and every machine has an off switch. Understanding this process is the first step. Knowing how to counter it is the next. In our final part, we will reveal the counterintuitive survival blueprint that can defeat both the furnace and the freezer and keep your internal systems online. This is the Sahara Survival Blueprint. It is a complete system reboot for your instincts. Rule 1. Flip your schedule. Become a creature of the night. This is the single most important and most counterintuitive rule of desert survival. Your entire life you have been programmed to be active during the day and to rest at night. In the desert, you must do the exact opposite. Why? Let's look at the brutal mathematics of water loss. During the day, under the blazing sun, an active person can lose up to 1.5 liters of water per hour through sweat. Your body is literally pouring out its life force just to keep your internal organs from cooking. At that rate, even with a large water supply, you will be in the critical stages of dehydration within hours. Now look at the night. It's cold, yes, but it is survivable with the right technique. And the water loss through breath, while still a factor, is dramatically less than the water loss through sweat. By resting during the day and traveling during the cool of the night, you can reduce your daily water consumption by up to 50 to 70%. This isn't a small optimization. This is the difference between surviving for one day. 3. Trust your tools, not your eyes. We have seen the terrifying deceptive power of the Mirage. It is a psychological weapon designed to prey on your deepest hopes. You cannot win a battle of willpower against a Mirage. The only way to win is to refuse to play the game. Your compass, your GPS, or even just the sun and the stars are your only sources of truth. The Sahara, in all its brutal glory, is a master teacher. It teaches us that survival is not about strength or endurance alone. It is about adaptation. It is about the intelligence to recognize that the rules of one environment do not apply in another. It is about the discipline to override your most powerful primal instincts when they are leading you to your doom, and that is the difference between a victim and a survivor.